For years, the people of Fairview whispered about the old man who lived in the crumbling white house at the end of Pine Street. His name was Earnest Whitmore, a frail, wrinkled man with thin white hair and piercing blue eyes. No one ever saw him leave the house, only the delivery drivers who dropped off his groceries. Rumor had it that he had murdered his wife decades ago and buried her somewhere on the property. But no one had ever found a body, and no one dared to ask him about it. One fall afternoon, 10-year-old Tyler Bennett was going door to door selling candy for his school fundraiser. He had made good money that day, but he had one more house left, Earnest Whitmore's. His mother had told him to stay away from that man, but curiosity got the better of him. He knocked once, no answer. He knocked again. The door creaked open. "Hello?" Tyler called out, stepping cautiously inside. The house smelled faintly of lavender and old books. The wooden floors creaked under his sneakers. Then, he saw him. Earnest Whitmore lay motionless on the living room floor, his eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. Tyler's stomach twisted in fear. His small hands fumbled for his phone, and with trembling fingers, he dialed 911. Within minutes, sirens wailed through the neighborhood. The house was soon swarmed by police officers, paramedics, and nosy neighbors craning their necks to catch a glimpse inside. The house was eerily clean. Everything was in its place. But what caught the officers' attention was the dining table. Scattered across it were newspaper clippings dating back to the 1980s, each one about missing people from all over the world. Some were well-known disappearances, others were obscure cases that had faded into history. There were notes scribbled in the margins, theories circled, timelines drawn out. "He was obsessed with this stuff," one officer muttered. But then, they heard it. A faint sound, like shallow breathing, coming from behind a closed bedroom door. When they opened it, they found a frail woman lying in a hospital bed, her body barely more than skin and bones. Her silver hair was brushed neatly, her blue eyes dull but still filled with life. An oxygen machine beeped softly beside her. "Mrs. Whitmore?" a paramedic asked gently. Her gaze slowly shifted to them. "He's gone, isn't he?" she whispered. Her name was Margaret Whitmore. She hadn't been missing. She had been bedridden for the last 15 years, unable to care for herself. Earnest had spent every day by her side, feeding her, reading to her, keeping her comfortable. He had turned his back on the outside world to become her caretaker. The rumors about him killing his wife had been just that. Rumors. The next day, Margaret passed away peacefully in her sleep. It was as if she had been waiting for Earnest. When the coroner examined Earnest's body, they found his cause of death was a heart attack. He had died just feet away from the woman he had loved for over 50 years. The townspeople, who had once feared and gossiped about Earnest, now wept for him. The neighbors came together to arrange a funeral for him and Margaret, laying them to rest side by side. Tyler never forgot that day. He had always believed he had stumbled upon a dark mystery. But instead, he had uncovered a love story, one of devotion, sacrifice, and a man who had never left his wife's side, not even when the world had turned against him.